Hello and welcome to a special edition of In the Sheds down here at Paramore Park for the finals of the Mortimer Shield. We're joined by four very special guests today, three who are rugby league legends here in the Riverina and one who is a current NRL star for the Sydney Roosters. We are joined by Steve, Chris, Peter and Daniel Mortimer. Guys, welcome to In the Sheds.
Thanks very much, Steve.
Great to have you all back in town together. We'll start with Steve. What does it mean to be able to come back here to Paramore Park for a game of rugby league that's named after your family?
I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's great to see that the kids, 40 years ago, we were sort of in that position, and it's great to sort of to share, promote and market what I call the greatest game of all. So it's great to see all the girls playing. Can I just say that too? They're playing that league tag or whatever, yeah?
League tag.
Just wonderful. So it's a non-contact sport and it's attractive to the females as well.
We always say that rugby league for junior levels is the grassroots. How important is it in the country, Chris?
Oh, look! All I can talk about is my experiences growing up as a kid here, and it makes me a little bit emotional actually coming back here, looking over there at Rocky Hill where we used to play, and we were so lucky that Mum and Dad pointed us towards rugby league as kids, and it's taught us a hell of a lot about life, and it's kind of shaped our lives over that 40, 50-year period or whatever it is. So we're very lucky to have played the game, mate.
Peter, obviously your mum Elaine's here today as well, and she's been a marvellous influence on all four of the boys. You're doing the same now to Daniel. What was it like? What's it like now being in those shoes?
Oh, it's terrific. We were fortunate, as Stephen said, Mum and Dad started the Kringle Magpies here, and that sort of kicked us off on our direction. And fortunately, all of our kids grew up together. They all grew up playing rugby league at a junior level at St Christopher's in Sydney. And now Daniel's coming back here. He's got a different interest now, knowing that what went before him. But it's satisfying to see your kids play any sport, and especially to get to a high level in that sport. It's rewarding for them.
Now, of course, Daniel, you're probably closer to your juniors than these fellas are now. What do you remember about junior rugby league? Obviously, you played the Australian schoolboys as well in 2007.
Yeah, that's right. It starts from down this age here, and that's where you develop your real passion for it. So that's why getting them early this age is so important. And from then on, basically, you go through. There's lots of rep teams, and I was fortunate enough to play in New South Wales and Australian schoolboys. So that kind of from then on, I really took my path and got picked up by Parramatta at that stage. So, mate, it's there's lots of junior teams that you play through and that. But as I said before, I think this age, the primary school age is the most important, where kids develop the the skills.
Obviously, you look around today and you see a lot of kids, they always talk about the Benji Marshall steps, or they're wearing headgear like Jamie Soward and the Jonathan Thurstons. Do you think now when you're out in the NRL field, do you think about that, how much of a role model you are for kids?
Yeah, it's hard because it wasn't that long ago since I was running around here having my own idols myself. So it's a quick transition into being a role model. But yeah, players are, and I think players are starting to take that responsibility and especially, I mean, you come back and see the young kids and you see the kick they get out of it. So it's sometimes you take it a bit for granted until you come back to the grassroots and see how much the kids love it.
With the NRL at the moment, there have been a few dramas off the field which we don't really like to focus on, but how do you think the job's been run now by CEO David Smith, and you've probably had a little bit to do with Todd Greenberg? How far away do you think he is from taking over that top role?
Yeah, look, the great thing about the game is last year the governance changed for the betterment with the Independent Commission. David Smith is the CEO. Todd Greenberg is a Bulldog. We're going to lose him, but I'm happy because he's going to bring more value to our game, supporting David Smith like Jim Doyle does as well. So look, there have been incidents off that. I'm sure they'll get less and less, but look, it's a wonderful game, and I just think, just looking at Daniel then, he's got the Roosters jersey on, and Peter's got the Bulldogs where we all played. We've got the New South Wales jersey on, and for all the kids in the Riverina, it just shows there's a definite pathway from a club to state to play for Australia, and I think that's something very special that rugby league can offer that probably some other codes can't.
That's true. How much do you think that does inspire the kids when they come down, they look at you guys today wearing all that stuff, and how far they can actually go in the game?
Tim, I remember when we were kids growing up, and Arthur Beetson and Tommy Bishop and a couple of other big high-profile players came down, and all we ever wanted to do was emulate those guys, and I remember our games of football up here in Warrawong Street. where I'd team up with Peter and Stephen would team up with Glenn, and lunchtime of a Saturday, I think the ABC used to commentate. But they look, certainly you want to emulate, as Daniel said before, the your marquee players like your Benji Marshalls and that's what all these kids are trying to do. And I've got no doubt, we're evidence that can happen.
One talking point in rugby league of late has been the biff, and it's been banned now. Would have been plenty of biff back in the 80s. Do you think it's the right decision, Peter?
Well, it is if you get caught. The reason it's being caught now is there's so many cameras from different angles. You can't escape anything. You can't even pick your nose without being criticised. So it's the way the game's changed. The game changed a lot since we played it, and Daniel's feeling that now, and they've got to change their attitude accordingly. Just on that, you mentioned Jamie Soward before. He actually came up through this competition, and the next Jamie Soward's probably out there somewhere today, playing for his school in the Mortimer Shield, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this.
Certainly will. Daniel, at the Roosters, mate, you started off obviously at Parramatta. You've gone over to the Roosters now, and you played your first 80-minute game in a while on Friday night and absolutely carved. How are you feeling out there?
No, it was good. Yeah, I was kind of look forward to that game for a long time, knowing that at least one of the halves would be in Origin, and lucky for us, both of them were. So I had to really stand up, but I had a lot of help from our big boys. Were outstanding on Friday night, and I could tell the first 15 minutes that they were on. So it was it was a pleasure to be out there again and in the thick of it for 80. It was a great feeling. Obviously,
Origin is a big talking point. Can you tell us about James Maloney and Mitchell Pearce and how much inspiration they have at the club at the Roosters and what they would bring into the New South Wales side?
Yeah, well, obviously Pearcey's been there for a while and hasn't had too much success, at the New South Wales level. He's definitely a confidence player, and I think James Maloney, coming this year and developing that partnership has really helped them both and the Roosters. Hopefully it'll help New South Wales tomorrow night, because they're playing great footy for us, and there's no reason why that can't transform onto the Origin arena.
Peter, you played for New South Wales before it was State of Origin. Tell us what the feeling was like. How much passion did you get out of pulling that Blues jumper on?
It was a game against England, so it wasn't against Queensland. So it's a truth. I do it every time I tell a fib.
I think your time's up there. They've cut you off. Yeah, what sort of passion do you get from that pulling that Blues jersey on?
Yeah, tremendous passion, because it is, as Chris said, it's what you aspire to do from the day you pull on a boot, and the smell of new leather, boots. Those things all come back to you. It's a great sense of achievement when you wear a blue jersey. I only wore it once though.
Queensland domination for you two gentlemen. It was happening when you, started. You were the first captain to captain New South Wales to an Origin win. Describe that feeling for us, and how did you get over that Queensland domination?
Simply, we all got together, we threw the egos out, we all brought our humility in. We had a great coach called Terry Fernley, who really is a lovely person, very similar to Laurie Daly. It's so unique, they're very, very similar. And we started caring for each other. And we were just unbreakable when we won that series. It wasn't probably because of skill, because we wanted it more than anyone else. And I've been very blessed to have played with my brother Peter against Great Britain in '79, I think it might have been, and with Chris in our first Origin series win. So it's all about, if you really want to do it, for each other and respect. And that's exactly what New South Wales today, 2013, have got. And I put that down to Ricky Stewart's 2 years before that, an independent coach, bringing them all together. So right now we've got the majority of the players that know each other, they care for each other, they trust each other, they're in there for each other. And I think that's a wonderful thing that Queensland did from very first game in 1980. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday night.
Of course, with this Queensland side, you guys played against a very, very good Queensland side. How do you think this one, Chris, compares to back in the day, Langer, Lewis, Miles and co?
Look, Timmy, it's just as competitive, obviously. This is going to be a lot harder up there, as we all know, because I don't think Queensland played the way that we know that they can play in Sydney that night. I don't think they dominated in the forwards like we know that they can, and which enables your Thurstons and your Cameron Smiths to do what they do best. And so, as Stephen said, leave your ego at the front door, get out onto the field. It's amazing It's amazing the killer that you get when you run out that tunnel at Lang Park, mate. Hopefully that'll lift them up over the top of them.
Now, before we wrap up, I'm just going to run through the panel and ask you one piece of advice that you give to some of these kids today. You're going to go out there and watch the Mortimer Shield and watch the finals this afternoon. What would one piece of advice be to these kids that you could give them?
I think just enjoy your moment in life as a school child, but also try to also be a better person and try to help your teammate on the field. They're probably things that came from my father when Mum and Dad and the Kringle community started the Kringle Magpies, I think back in 1964.
Chris?
Well, this game teaches you so much about life, so young in life. You know, it teaches you to listen to your coach. It teaches you to front up dressed appropriately. You get to taste the characters of your teammates, and you know what, that helps you later on in business. Yeah. And look, it's just a great game that exposes all the qualities that you need in life to succeed.
Yeah, my advice is listen to your coach. He's been there before.
I want to just embrace the competitiveness. I think that's my favourite part about the game. It's just competing, you know, with your mates. So just embrace it. Yeah.
Steve, Chris, Peter, and Daniel, thank you very much for joining us, and go the Blues.
Yeah, go the Blues. Thank you very much.